All right, so you've talked about different forms of linear equations and what those look like. Today we're going to look at kind of how parallel lines, why they're parallel and why perpendicular lines are perpendicular. So we're going to start off with parallel lines, right? So two lines are parallel if their slopes are equal, right? And then I know that if I take any two horizontal or vertical lines, right, those are going to be parallel. So when we check to see if the slopes or two lines are parallel, I'm just going to look at and find their slopes. All right, so I don't know what is the slope of line 1 and what is the slope of line 2. So if I look at line 1, right, I kind of have these two nice points. Remember, we have a couple ways of calculating slope. One is to just count on the graph, right? So here we can talk about how we went down 1, 2, 3, 4, down 9, right? So negative 9, and over 1, 2, 3, right? So negative 9 over 3 or negative 3. Remember, we can also use that slope formula, right? That m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so we're going to do that for line 2 just as a quick review. All right, so I can say I have x1, y1, x2, y2, and I can plug those values in, right? Negative 4 minus 3 over negative 1 minus negative 3. All right, and so if I do that, negative 7 over 2, I get negative 3.5. So those lines would not be parallel, right? Because their slopes are not the same. All right, so continue on, right? If I want to write an equation for a line that's parallel to this y equals negative 3x minus 5, but also goes through that point, right? I look at and say, well, what's my new slope going to be, right? Well, I have to match this slope if they're going to be parallel. So I have negative 3 as my slope, and I have that point of negative 1, 8. So I know I'm going to use point slope form. So if we need a reminder, right? Point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And so I plug in my values here and say, well, y minus 8 equals my slope times x. And then remember, if I subtract a negative, I'm adding, so x plus 1 is my, so there's my equation. So perpendicular lines, right? Two lines are perpendicular if the slopes are what we call negative reciprocals, right? Means the product is negative 1. So kind of an example of what that means, right? If I had 2/3 and negative 3/2, those two are negative reciprocals. And anytime I have a vertical line and a horizontal line, those lines are going to be perpendicular. Right, so when I want to check if these are perpendicular, I'm looking for, do I have the negative reciprocals? All right, so I know what's the slope again of lines 1 and 2. All right, so line 1, we can kind of do that counting thing again and say, oh, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I just want to simplify this just to make sure that I'm always looking at the most simple number. All right, so you get negative 3/2. Then I look at line 2, and I could say, well, x1, y1, x2, y2, sort of 3 minus negative 3 over 4 minus negative 5. So then I look at this and say, well, then 3 minus negative 3 give me 6. over 4 minus negative 5 would give me 9. And if I simplify that, I would get 2/3. Alright, so look, are they reciprocals? Yes. Is it one negative, one positive? Yes. So I can say yes, these are perpendicular. Alright, so if I look at what's the equation for the line perpendicular to y equals 1/5 x plus 2, it contains the point 15,4. Okay, right, I want to figure out what my new slope is, negative, my reciprocal, right, 5 over 1, or I could just say negative 5. So looking at this, right, I use point slope form again, so y minus 4 equals negative 5 times x minus 15, and there is my equation for the line that's going to be perpendicular through that point.